Welcome to another episode of China Update, where I provide you guys with the most up-to-date political, economic and geostrategic analysis on the world's number 2 economy. My name is Tony. Let's jump in. Happy Monday, everybody. I trust you had a relaxing weekend and are ready for another productive week ahead. Chinese regulators were scrambling over the weekend to find policy tools to respond to emerging issues across the economy and to calm a jumpy market, with regulators being especially concerned with the spreading mortgage boycott which emerged last week and is now putting the banking system at risk. We covered this crisis in detail on Saturday. Over the weekend, the People's Bank of China, China's central bank, said it would step up monetary policy to provide stronger support for the economy, which is suffering from, quote, downward pressures, end quote. Then on Sunday, yesterday, the China Banking and Insurance Regulatory Commission announced greater efforts to direct lenders to extend loans to real estate projects to ensure that they have the liquidity to be finished, a clear attempt to reverse the mortgage payment boycott sweeping across the country. The most up-to-date, reliable data on this particular crisis is from eHouse China Research and Development Institute, published just today, a few hours ago, which finds that more than 200 projects from at least 80 property developers have been affected by the mortgage boycott by home buyers so far. The report estimates stalled real estate projects across China involve almost 1 trillion RMB worth of mortgages so far this year, 1.7% of the total outstanding mortgage loans. It could be even worse, though. It could be even worse, however. According to Hong Kong-based South China Morning Post, 3/4 of China's most heavily indebted developers have missed completion and handover deadlines for residential properties under construction. The hole in China's housing market is much bigger than the bond defaults or declines in developers' shares that we saw last year. Developers just do not have enough money, and the spillover effect to ordinary people's lives and banks could be hemorrhaging, end quote. In an incredible statement from a body which had previously pushed so hard for deleveraging in the housing development industry in order to root out long festering issues surrounding moral hazard, the China Banking and Insurance Regulatory Commission, in its official newspaper, the China Banking and Insurance News, announced yesterday that banks should, quote, meet developers' financing needs, end quote. In the same piece, the Commission, seeking to calm a shaky market, also expressed, quote, all the difficulties and problems will be solved, end quote. And the market, for now at least, was somewhat calmed. China's banking index saw a 1% bump on Monday morning, Hong Kong time. We remember that it plunged 7% last week, reaching a 2-year low. But investors in real estate firms were even happier, with Chinese real estate stocks jumping nearly 5% in Hong Kong, halting a 10-day slide. Country Garden surged 8.2%. Quote, this is a boost to confidence to a certain extent. Going forward, we need further evidence. Rate cuts from China's central bank in the third quarter will be stronger support for property, end quote. So this appears to be a victory for temporary stability in the banking sector and some support for real estate, but yet another defeat in regulators' efforts to battle moral hazard and transition to a healthier growth model. And it has its own costs. Quote, this is how monetary authorities drive credit expansion, administratively, like the window guidance of Japan in the 1980s, rather than through cuts in interest rates, like the Fed or the ECB. In the EU or the US, changes in benchmark rates affect the volume of bank credit, whereas in China, they mostly affect the distribution of income between net lenders and net borrowers, end quote. We can see through these measures from regulators that it has become clear to very concerned policymakers that the housing crisis is spreading from creditors, offshore bondholders and high-yield debt investors into the real economy, a politically unacceptable development. Quote, I think the Chinese government has the will and means to solve the problem and will likely take swift actions. The biggest risk is impairment to consumer confidence, which threatens the nascent recovery in property sales, end quote. Hey guys, if you're enjoying the content, don't forget to hit the like button, and for anyone who wants to help keep the channel sustainable, financially sustainable, Patreon and Buy Me a Coffee links are in the description below. I really want the channel to be subscriber supported and not have to rely on corporate sponsorship, so this is a tremendous help. As always though, thank you everybody, all of you, for the ongoing support. Next up, the outbreak and lockdown situation in the country. China's expensive and disruptive game of zero COVID whack-a-mole continues into this week, with the situation worsening over the weekend. New official COVID cases across the country continue to slowly climb over the weekend, with some outbreaks ebbing while others grew. Saturday saw 580 official local cases, the highest number since late May, with southern Guangxi and northwestern Gansu, both very poor regions, suffering surges in case numbers. Lanzhou, the capital of Gansu province, is extending its lockdowns for most districts until the 24th of July. Eastern Anhui province and southern Guangdong province saw a drop in new case numbers. Lockdowns in Xi'an, of Terracotta Warriors fame, as well as Wuxi in Jiangsu province, have eased. However, Wugang in Henan province extended its lockdowns until July the 18th. And the northern city of Tianjin announced today that it is yet again testing its 12 million residents after the discovery of 2 local infections. Like I said, whack-a-mole. Now, large parts of Shanghai remain out of lockdown. The situation there is stable but not out of the woods. The city's authorities yesterday expressed that the critical financial hub situation, quote, remains severe, end quote. On Monday morning, this morning, Shanghai reported more than a dozen new cases, but none from outside quarantined areas. Meanwhile, jumping from the mainland to the Macau Special Administrative Region, the city, which reported 31 infections for Saturday, despite a soft citywide lockdown with all businesses including casinos being shut and residents only allowed to leave their homes to buy groceries, will extend its citywide shutdown as authorities fail to stamp out cases. Non-essential businesses will remain closed until the 22nd of July, extending the lockdown order first made on the 11th and only meant for 7 days. The gambling hub's powerful casinos, which provides Macau's government with somewhere between 80 and 90% of its revenue and 1/3 of local employment, were losing a combined $20 million a day in Q2, according to estimates by JP Morgan. And with them closed now, the bleeding will become much worse. Okay, that is today's episode of China Update. Thank you so much everybody for watching. I'll see you tomorrow.